Welcome to part 7 of the fantasy version walkthrough. In this version we're going to get the vampire key. So we start off where we left off last time in Hollow Tree, and you just got to leave the building and then you can take the broomstick to Tarragon City. Go west to enter Haunted Graveyard. This training is compulsory with 2 mana. You then carry on this way. There's multiple routes you can go through. This is the one I picked. You just sort of follow this path here, this guy and his 2 Dreepies. You then carry on through this way. Just sort of have a careful look at where the sort of pits and gravestones are placed, and obviously you jump down that ledge as well. Here's the 3rd guy, and he has a Dusclops, and I think that's his only one. Dusclops are quite bulky, as you know. There's an ice thing. Look out for it because it looks a bit like a gravestone. Go to your west, you have Oregano City, which you can access at this point as well. This is the Tradestone Seller. He will give you a random evolution stone for 1000 gold. Today's one was Shiny Stone. This is one way you can get trade stone to sort of get trade evolutions like Gengar and Machamp and all the rest of them. So this is Dark Forest West, which you can go north of Oregano City. And actually this route that I'm showing you now is the way to get a Master Ball. I think it's the first time you can get one. So then we go back to the sort of main plot of the game. And obviously that trainer we fought as well, but didn't show. Oh no, we didn't show the battle. So you carry on from where we left off at the Ice Cube, and this is where you fight the Dark Spiritomb. Now, it's pretty important. This first battle we lost because I didn't have Crobat first, so it's important to have your Haze user in first, because it'll raise all its stats, apart from, I think, speed and evasiveness. I'm not that evil. It'll use Haze. So you make your Haze user use Haze as soon as possible. It's still quite strong, but nowhere near, it's not like invincible. So that's what we did. It knocked out Hattie, unfortunately, but we managed to get the Haze in first with Bat. Bat's just here for the memes now. So uses cross poison, doesn't hit much, and we sort of go with a strategy with Bird once again, where we go for the Hone Claws. Spiritomb very nicely got itself down to 3/4 HP by using Curse. Sends out Dusclops, so send out another Dark type. We'll send out a Dark type so that we can sort of deal with that fairly easily. Hone Claws has now been done twice, and obviously look out for Burning Jealousy on your various Steel types and all the rest of it. Because its stats are back to 0, it didn't hit much on Bird, but would have definitely OHKO'd it if we had not used Haze. So this is why it's very important, like I said in the last video, to have a Haze user somewhere on your team in the playthrough and send them out first in these battles. As you can see, we're just sort of getting on with it, using the Dark type moves on Dusclops. It's extremely tanky, and we'll take a lot of your hits, but you just got to sort of keep going. It also uses Pain Split to heal as well, so look out for that, and deals constant damage with Nightshade, all the while Spiritomb is attacking with Burning Jealousy as well. So you've just got to sort of get through that. As you can see, we can manage this with quite a few levels under, and again that's because we used Haze. It would be very difficult, if not impossible, without it. I've yet to complete a playthrough where I've not used Haze at this point. I think other people have managed it, but I don't know how they've managed it. So then sends out Snorlax, because that's a normal thing for a ghostly spirit to send out. You've just got to deal with Snorlax how you normally do, just by trying to hit it as hard as possible. We don't have a fighting type, but obviously now would be a good time to send it out if you did have one. We just sort of go with a tanky double enhanced Drill Peck on this Snorlax here, and we managed to knock it out, which is always great. We've got a few levels up. Learnt Foul Play because Raw wasn't doing us any favours in this particular playthrough, so we just decided to have 3 Dark type moves, and obviously 1 Fire type. We had to send out someone else, so we sent out Lilypad just because it's relatively bulky and could deal with some of Spiritomb's moves quite well. It couldn't inflict much damage though, so we just sort of let Bird do that. It did enough damage to collectively to get it to the 1/4 HP that it needed to get to. Spiritomb is using Dark Horse. Sends out Dust Noir as its last one. So we just sort of dealing with that as well. 100 power trip on Dusknoir should hopefully be not much of an issue, and it OHKOs it down. So that is the allies dealt with. All that's left is the final Spiritomb. Hopefully we can just get it down fairly quickly, which we do manage to do because we both outspeed it. It's not very fast as a Pokemon. So that is the Dark Spiritomb dealt with, and we got our first level 50 and learned Brave Bird instead of Drill Peck. So that's finally gone. We get a cutscene that basically tells us to go into the cave there. That's not a cave, it's city dungeons. To continue the rest of this part to get the key. That's where the rest of this video will be situated, most of it anyway. It's quite an annoying, long, intricate dungeon. If you hate wild Pokemon, bring Repels, or that item, I think it's called Cleanse Tag. And this is sort of the way through. It's quite long and complex, but you'll make it. This guy's compulsory with his Alolan Marowak. You go down the stairs, which is actually just basically a tunnel to another part of the dungeon. And you make your way through that way. Another compulsory trainer with a Wish Cache and a Swanner. Carry on through this way. I'll show you that bit in a minute, but then you go, you just as you can see on the video, this chap's got a Thievul, and he's got two. At this point, Dragon evolved finally into Haxorus, so I think all of our Pokemon are now fully evolved, which is pretty cool. So this is the next key battle. This guy's called Alan. As you can see, his Gengar was causing us a lot of grief, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So he's the next chap you've got to beat because they'll give you a key. So here he is, and he starts with Klefki. There's Dog. Obviously, I went for Fire Fan because it's super effective, and hopefully could get a burn to avoid it using sort of decent physical moves. It mainly has status moves, but it was useless against Dog because Dog's a Dark type and it has Prankster, so it's quite useful to send out a Dark type against Klefki. Especially Hound Doom because it resists its fairy move, so it's just neutral. Beartic's next. It carries Aqua Jet. It's probably the one you got to look out for because you're probably not expecting it, but otherwise it's just got your sort of ice type moves, and I think it carries Superpower as well, but don't quote me on that. That's what we went for, Night/2. So we just thought, let's build. I think what we were doing here is we're building ourselves up for the next one because we knew that its attacks wouldn't do much. But because this is one of the sort of main battles, you've got a trainer that loves using full restores, but certainly fair saying as we heal half the time as well. So that's what we're doing. We're getting the home claws ready for some powerful attacks. So we've got the Steel Wing and dealt with Beartic. I think we only used home claws once, but it's still enough to do a fair amount of damage and makes Power Trip have 60 power instead of 20. Next is the Gengar. This Pokemon is, if you're not prepared, it's going to sweep your team, especially after it uses Magic Plot, which it just did, but we were prepared. It made that look particularly easy, but if you weren't prepared like that, it's going to really be a struggle, and it's really fast, it's really hard with magic attacks, and it's got quite good coverage as well, so look out for that. Last one left is Mimikyu. I've got to break its disguise first. It's just used Swords Dance, so we're a bit apprehensive about that, but Bird is an absolute tank, and luckily it's play rough missed anyway. We hit it with Steel Wing, and it goes down. So that is Alan dealt with there. He will give you his key and basically escape the dungeons, even though they have no cell doors, but I think that's sort of one of the jokes that I went for with this map design. And he goes off, and you sort of follow this route for the next bit of the key. There's also another key door, which I'll show you very briefly. And by very briefly, I mean right now. So this is from the entrance. Now that you've got the key, you can take a shortcut to where we just were, because there's another key door there that you need Alan's key for as well. So you just run west like that, and you go through to where we just were, which is right there. So you don't take the top one. I made the mistake of taking the top one. Now this is the bottom one, which you're supposed to take. This guy's got two Dittos, one's got Imposter. You carry on this way. So this is quite a long path to the Vampire Lord. And as I said, bring Repels. That trainer's optional. Bring Repels if you hate having a wild Pokemon. So it's just this way. There's a few trainers more than earlier on in the game that you have to fight before the boss. If you want to go and leave the dungeon and come back and heal, that's obviously fine if you're happy to spend the time doing that. Otherwise, just bring loads of items, because you'll have quite a bit of money at this point. So that's something I can recommend. There's this last trainer with a double battle, Huntail and Jarabase. So that's fairly easy. This trainer is optional, so I didn't put the battle in. And you're supposed to actually go this way. We're very close now. So the item to the right is an escape rope, which obviously is useful for after the fight to get back, so you don't have to traverse through that entire area again. And this guy on the left is the Vampire Lord with his funny catchphrases. So we're going to start battling him. I think being first time. And he will lead with Mandibuzz. So I think the idea behind Bird is it can't be toxic, because it carries toxic. So Mandibuzz is pretty useless in the attack department at this point, because it can't really toxic. It can just basically air slash. I think it carries foul play as well. So we're pretty good leading with Bird. And we've already used Home Claws, so we just go for the Brave Bird. We don't quite knock it out because it's really bulky, but we think we do so a second time after using Steel Wing on it, yes. We managed to avoid the flinches from Air Slash as well, which is helpful. It's always good to avoid stuff like that, even though it's not our fault. Hound Doom's next, one of our own. In fact, this guy has 2 Pokemon that we have on the party now. So the first one's Hound Doom. We thought, let's just go straight in and outrage on Hound Doom. Hopefully OHKOs. It doesn't OHKO, even though it's a crit. Has Citrus Berry. But the second one does knock it out. So that managed to happen. Dragon is now level 50 as well, as is a Bat. Next one's Gliscor. However it's pronounced, there's so much debate about it, doesn't really matter. We thought, we can... I don't know what our logic was entirely on this one. This one's annoying, obviously, because it has Poison Heal. And you can't inflict it with a status condition unless you do it really quickly and really get in on there. So that's something, if you're worried about Poison Heal, you can do. You can sort of try paralyze it with Thunder Wave or burn it. But obviously don't poison it. And plus, even if you do inflict another status condition, it's still got Facade, so it can still hit really high through it. So the way to deal with this, the way I dealt with it, is I just sort of kept hammering away at it and used Supersonic to try and get it to not attack. Now it's Swords Dance, it's really in danger. Oh, by the way, also, this Pokemon's 4 times weak to Ice, so if you've got an Ice-type move, definitely use it. It'll probably knock it. It'll probably OHKO it. We got quite lucky with a Confusion. And we're literally, the logic here is just hopefully trying to get a critical hit with Air Cutter and have it hit itself in its Confusion, and the combination of those should whittle its HP down quite a significant amount, but it managed to hit through Confusion and OHKO'd Bat. Next we send out Dragon. I don't know if we're just sending him out so we could heal another party member. We don't. We use Outrage instead, but it knocks us out as well. So that happened, and next strategy is, but I'm really trying to understand my logic from yesterday here. So it heals, because of course it does, and I think the logic there was, let's use Foul Play because it's got its attack really high up, so it's going to hit even more, and that's what we did, and that was what we managed to do. So Dog managed to deal with it and tank its X-Scissor quite well. Its final most powerful member is Crobat, which is obviously one of our team members as well. We sent out Hattie to sort of go for the Psychic combination, but we also thought to heal as well as a sort of backup plan. I think we chose to heal Bird because if we didn't, we did choose to heal Bird, and we chose to do that because obviously it's Steel type, which can resist its poison and flying, both of its stab attacks. Crobat unfortunately knocks out Hattie with a critical cross poison, which is annoying because I wanted to use poison Psychic on it. So instead we send out Bird. All it can do is a not very effective Brave Bird, because all of its attacks are not very effective against Bird, and it can't toxic it either. So that's what basically our logic was, just to sort of outstall it, heal, and use Brave Bird to knock it out. I think that's eventually the approach that we managed to go for. Eventually, because it's fairly useless. As I say, as I keep saying in pretty much all of the videos, Corviknight is an excellent choice for this playthrough because it just resists half of the types. And it's pretty decent. So that's what we managed to do. I said it's immune to Toxic, but it doesn't have Toxic. It has Haze, just like the one in the party. So that's us. We managed to deal with the Vampire Lord. He will sort of get banished into the Beyond. This is the only point the player talks in the entire game, by the way. Just thought I'd add that little fun fact. we get the Vampire Key. The item he drops is the book for Rock Slide. So that's cool as well if you want to use that. That is this part done. I will see you next time for part 8.